participated in one of those. And I said, well, it wasn't in my district. Ask you guys if you've done it yet.
I haven't done the second one for,
Well, he'll have to get a hold of the DNR for that. Right,
Have they called you yet?
yeah, he called me too yesterday.
Okay.
But he just wanted to kind of like a ride along when you go out there and score. He'd like to. And that one would be up in his neighborhood.
Scott or Steve?
Scott. Bill, you think you'll be doing one with the DNR that they do, or what's up? Are you gonna be doing one with it?
I would assume means it's refiled, it has to be,
Gotta follow all the same rules.
yeah. Even though it's all the same, except for, looks like they moved the building back a little further from secondary roads to,
If you do go out and do that, you'll have to get a hold of Scott.
Well, that doesn't really tell him the process.
Why not? Well, he wanted to see the scoring matrix and how it's scored.
all you do.
Well, he'd have to have the DNR guy run him through that whole.
Right,
Yeah.
you'd have to get it with the DNR.
When I've only gone on it once since I've been on it. It's big. Have you've been on it, haven't you? In my opinion, they don't do much.
No.
On the site, do
No.
inspection.
But with
And most times I've been out there, it was really cold too, so you didn't want to stand out there long either, so it below zero both times.
There was some of the questions that were brought up in the last one.
Yeah. Morning.
Who's that fellow?
John Tolbert.
Oh, that's him? I haven't got my glasses on, I can't see that far. I just saw a man in a suit.
Just another lawyer.
Yeah, just another lawyer.
Hey, go out here a lot.
Yeah, you just get so many points for being so far away from towns and so far away from acreages and so far away from tile
And this next one will pass yours.
is that right?
Oh, I'm sure you'll have all the ducks in order, don't you? And,
Yeah, but we can still not pass.
oh
it.
yeah, we can do it, reject it,
Then he can go,
appeal it to DNR.
yeah, and, is it gonna bother the golf course? I don't know. I wish we could set it there and find out, and, it'd probably be relatively okay. There's some people that live there that don't want it, but, yeah.
Morning. They had a lot of controversy in Worth County for theirs.
Yeah, well, I looked at that one on the news too. It's, pretty close to their lake there or whatever.
Between the lake and the casino
Mm-hmm.
and the campground.
Yeah, there was a couple of them that were a little mad at the supervisors and said they didn't listen to them, but really, it passed their matrix, there ain't nothing you can do anyway. You slow it down a little, is all. But when I'm standing out there on the tee box and if we could smell it, I don't want someone to be able to say, yeah, well, we wouldn't be smelling this if it weren't for you. This is technically not true.
There was a huge outcry and one that went southwest of Rice Lake Golf Course only a mile.
Mm-hmm. Never noticed it. And it's southwest too,
Yeah.
You get a lot of southwest breezes, or out of the southwest.
That's a small one.
No, it's at 5,000 and it's not a pool, it's a pit, not outside pit. Yeah. Stand Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to approve the minutes of the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Mr. Corbett.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you, as always, for giving me your time on your agenda. I always appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk about drainage.
Likewise.
Talk first of all very quickly about federal level. We're still sort of waiting for this Waters of the United States thing to go away. I think most of you are aware of the history on that, where we did have rules put in place by EPA back in the Obama administration, which would have dramatically expanded the power of EPA to regulate virtually every puddle in the United States. That was halted by litigation, and now with new administration and differing priorities in terms of EPA, they are in the process of repealing the changes that were made. So it's really going to be a two-step process. The first thing, which is where we are right now, is getting the rule back to the way it was originally. And that's what's happening right now. After that, there will probably be more regulation, which our understanding is a good thing in terms of what they're trying to do, because they're trying to react to recent, not so recent, within 10 years Supreme Court decisions, and make sure that the regulatory environment is a positive one. And from a drainage district perspective, that certainly helps us. We were concerned that the expansion of Waters of the United States would involve drainage districts, would have put you in a regulated environment. That is going away, and that's good news. Other thing I'll talk about briefly, as you know, the lawsuit filed against 10 drainage districts in 3 counties went away. The lawsuit was dismissed by the federal judge in Sioux City that heard the lawsuit. And all that was positive. That took place almost about a year ago now, March of last year. But that comes with a cautionary note, because the basis of that lawsuit and what the key thing was that Des Moines Water Works wanted was for drain tile to be regulated as a point source. So in other words, for landowners to continue to be able to drain land, you all in some way, shape, or form were going to have to go out and obtain permits from DNR under the Clean Water Act, which by the way don't exist right now, to allow that drainage to continue. And what Waterworks was trying to say is that drainage as a practice is pollution that should not be treated any differently than a pipe from a factory that spills pollution into a waterway.
Or from a water district that dumps it back.
Yes. That was never litigated. That was never addressed in the dismissal of the lawsuit. The dismissal was on different grounds. So that still is hanging out there. And I mean, I still think we would prevail on that. I still think we would win that, because federal regulation basically says that water coming from the sky and going through drain tile is not regulated. So I think we would win if we were challenged, but the fact remains that we could have another challenge out there by an environmental group looking to make headlines or show how powerful they are to their membership or whatever. So we certainly have good news in the dismissal of the lawsuit. It was really the best case scenario, given what, where the lawsuit was. I talked to one of the county supervisors from one of the counties that got sued, and their attorneys have told them that, you could be in for a 12 to 15-year process. And it got resolved in 2. So that's very positive, and we think the basis for the dismissal of the lawsuit was very positive, but I think we're still exposed out there, so we have to be mindful of that as we move forward. Other thing I'll talk about is what we have going on at the state level right now with respect to water quality. You attended the annual meeting. Representative Chip Baltimore from Boone was on the agenda at our annual conference talking about where the legislature was on water quality. And go back to the end of the legislative session in 2017, we had 2 competing bills. Basically, the Senate favoring one version and the House favoring another version. And both sides were dug in. House said, we don't like the Senate version, we're not going to do it. Senate said, we don't like the House version, we're not going to do it. And there they sat. And that, came down to the end of the session in 2017, and they went like this and agreed that they couldn't agree, and went home and said, we'll work on it in 2018. So that's the backdrop of where we come in to the legislature this year. Governor Reynolds, who was not governor at the end of the legislative session in 2017, but became governor since then, indicated that she was as much interested in seeing a bill as her predecessor, Governor Branstad, was. Wanted the water quality bill to be the first bill on her desk coming out of the 2018 legislature. So to sum up things, basically what happened is you had the Senate bill, which had passed the Senate, was sitting over in the House. Some dynamics of the process changed. Chip Baltimore, who was leading the charge on the House side, got himself in some legal problems with an arrest for drunk driving. And long and short of it is the House agreed to accept the Senate bill and send it to the governor, and the governor signed the bill. So there's not unanimous support for the bill. I think the general consensus is the bill's a good thing, but it's not enough. It does provide more funding, and drainage districts can be part of that funding. So if you have a drainage district improvement that comes to your desk and you want to incorporate water quality into that improvement and potentially get some state money for that, that possibility would exist. But the amount of money that, first of all, the money is sort of back-end loaded, so up front there's not that much additional funds. The money is going to come along later in the process, which is fine. I mean, that's the way the bill was structured. But one of the big rubs against the bill was simply there's not enough resources there, okay? So what does that mean as we head forward? And even Governor Reynolds said in signing the bill, her comment was, this is just a start. We're not done yet. We continue to have to work on this problem, and that's fine. So what has happened since then? Okay, the water quality bill is law. So we've got new funding that will go to IDOLs, that IDOLs can put into conservation practices at the local level. If somebody wants to build a bioreactor or a filter strip or try to get a wetland installed or cover crops, whatever, those can be practices that will be funded through IDOLs. Fast forward a little bit from that, and last week now we have a bill that apparently is fast-tracked going through the process, which will be a significant cut in state income taxes. So you've got corporate taxes being cut, and you've got individual and family income taxes being cut. Fiscal note isn't out on that bill yet, but most estimates are that that's going to take about $1 billion out of state revenue eventually. That's about 14-15% of the revenue the state receives. It's a lot of money. And I would remind you that legislature, when they came into session in January, was already faced with cutting appropriations that were made 7 months earlier. So growth isn't happening as fast as they wanted to, or fast as it's projected, so they're still having to cut back on appropriations made last year. And now they're going to look at legislation, which is going to take another 10, 12, 15, 16% out of the revenue stream. How are you going to pay the bills? My personal opinion is what happens and what's going on behind the scenes is enter the Iowa Water Land Legacy Fund and sales tax. If you remember, the Water Land Legacy Fund has a component in it that says next time sales taxes are increased, there's going to be 3/8 cents of that go to conservation programs, including water quality. So I think that it's very possible this year that what you will see is a 1 cent increase in sales tax. Possible, not probable, it's still on the possible line at this point, but it's possible you'll see a 1 cent increase in sales tax. That jacks up money for conservation by 3/8 cents. That provides additional funding for water quality and other conservation programs, which is needed. And the rest of that revenue would then be plugged into the state revenue stream to offset what they're losing from income tax cuts. So that's sort of, I think, what the issues look like behind the scenes. Don't know that that's going to happen, but I don't think the state can afford to take $1 billion out of their revenue stream without doing something to replace some of that revenue in some way, shape, or form. So that to me is one who works the legislative process and tries to keep the ear to the ground and find out what's going on behind the scenes. I think the Waterland Legacy Fund is one way that problem gets solved. It allows the income tax cuts to go into effect. It replaces it with a tax which is not as disliked as much as the income tax with sales tax, and also provides additional money for conservation programs and water quality programs. So I think it checks a number of different boxes. Conventional wisdom is that tax increases don't pass in an election year. So that would go against conventional wisdom. But we'll see. So, happy to answer questions.
Does federal law supersede Iowa law when it comes to suing drainage districts?
Yes.
It does.
Yes. Federal law is always going to take precedent.
So most of the projects they would be funding with some of those monies that was approved would be your prep programs and filtering strips and things like that.
Wouldn't really be any different than what we have now. There's just more funds there to do it. So IDOLS has had cost share programs out there that farmers can apply for. And, if you want to put in a conservation practice, apply for state funds, we'll cost share those funds. I think the delivery mechanism is probably going to be exactly the same. As I said, the main difference is the amount of funds available for those cost share practices will be greater than it was in the past.
Is it an expensive process, like when Des Moines Water Works gets a permit from the DNR to discharge their stuff, their particulates that they don't want? Is that an expensive process for them?
What I'm told is it's a lengthy process, and it's an expensive process, and you pretty much, Waterworks has the resources to deal with that kind of stuff. But if you're, an applicant is not used to that, a county board of supervisors or somebody else, you're probably going to have to go out and hire outside help to do the process. Like I said, permits for drainage don't exist right now, so that had to be created.
And you don't see that happening?
Not in the immediate future, no. Like I said, my concern is
Now there, would federal law supersede Iowa? If they came in, say the EPA, federal EPA came in and said, we're gonna start tracking this from the source. Does that supersede Iowa law?
certainly would supersede Iowa law, but like anything else the federal government does, it'd be subject to challenge. Would have to be implemented through the rulemaking process, so they'd have to, open public hearings and take public comment and go through a very lengthy process to put it into effect. And even after that, it would be subject to legal challenge after the fact. So these things don't happen quickly.
And that can be done without the Congress, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Well, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Good to see you. Beautiful day out there.
Yeah. All right, Point County Attorney. Anybody wanna speak before we entertain a motion?
Well, I'll reiterate what I said last week, that I think we have two very good choices to look at. There were 4 candidates we interviewed, and out of those, I think we narrowed it down to 2. Both Todd Shelf and Kelsey Benken are very qualified for the job. It comes down to, from what feedback I've gotten, I think there's more comfort zone in hiring somebody local, somebody that knows the local court system.
Law enforcement is definitely.
I'm assuming we've all done our homework. I'll entertain a motion.
I did do research on both of them. When you're hiring a position like this, you have to at least Google search them. And I saw nothing that was out of the ordinary for either of them that came up. I went many pages into the search.
Anybody else? Give their opinion?
Well, I think we've talked it through. I'll make a motion to appoint Chris Binkin, Kelsey Christian. Now I got Kelsey Christensen on my mind. Someone else make the motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kelsey Binkin as county attorney.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to appoint Kelsey Binkin to county attorney. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And just to reiterate, this is only to fill the position until the election time.
Very good.
Didn't have anything to add?
I watched the interviews, and they both did very well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I better not say it.
Are you guys going to call her then today and
Yeah.
and see what her start date can be?
My guess is that she just watched it.
Oh, okay. That's
But
true.
we need to officially probably.
Yeah.
We'll call them both.
Yes. And then would somebody let me know what our approximate court or start date would be? So I kind of know how to plan too. I have Blake sitting at my desk doing court work right now, so.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Scott?
I guess other than what's on the agenda, I don't have much to update you on. Do you guys have any subjects you want to talk through?
Just out of curiosity, on a weekend storm cleanup, do the mechanic shop always come in, or is it just on me?
It's dependent upon what's going on with our equipment, and lately we've been working hard to keep everything moving. Of course, we have fewer standby machines with the auction coming up and new equipment coming. We're kind of in a weird limbo time period, so yeah, it's a challenge, and so we've had to have them work a little bit to try to keep everything moving.
I noticed both of them going home at their normal time, only on a Sunday.
Neither Cassuth County or Minnesota bothered to go out on the weekend.
On the gravels.
Yeah. I'm not even sure they were on blacktop in Minnesota. But,
Yeah.
actually, no, they weren't on the blacktop in Cassuth either. Didn't look like it.
It's kind of a danger though with that wet, heavy, slushy stuff. It's a challenge to drive in without any ball.
Yeah, I can tell you our guys worked all day on it.
So you just couldn't, it must have drifted in the edges where you couldn't see because there should have been a good layer there.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of wind with it. That's the only question I had.
And I'm not being overly critical of what they're doing because I'm guessing they don't save money doing it the way they do. So.
Yeah, it's a never-ending battle of discussion whether you try to get by and save the funds or provide a higher level of service.
Do you know what the law says?
Every county is subject to their own snow removal ordinance, and we have one that's been in place for quite a few years, much longer than I've been here, and we operate according to that ordinance.
Any other questions? Move on to approve the salaries for the county engineer's office.
Duplicate copies of a memo here. Chris, you're recommending 3% in line with the other approved raises throughout the county?
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2019 salaries for the county engineer's office.
I'll second. I'll second that. Okay, motion by Terry, seconded by myself to approve the 2019 salaries for county engineer's office. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Chris here?
No,
And we'll move on to,
Scott, did you have,
maybe there's,
Mark called me about some drainage that was brought in yesterday. Just want to make sure, a couple of things. So. Other than that, I'm good.
Scott, you got any drainage you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Number 7, consider approval early retirement for Jane Langford. Did Adam draw that up?
Well, that's the form that everybody's been using.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's been vetted.
I thought he looked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam and I both looked at it.
Yeah.
Just fill in the blank. Again, I suppose, should we have a stamp on this? I think we did the others. I'll make a motion to approve the early retirement for Jane.
I'll second it.
Motion by Terry, seconded by Bill to approve the early retirement contract with Jane Langford. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And the deadline for applying for this was what?
Tomorrow.
Okay,
So basically, they had to have it in so they could be on the agenda, but,
well, they can still drop it tomorrow and
and then be on the agenda for next week. Yeah, yes.
so like next week's the last.
Signatures?
Was it down the back?
I want to sign there too.
Oh, yep, that's good. Thank you.
Open forum?
I was just going to ask all of you guys to send Ted Gassman and Booth,
Is this on the backhoe
yes, letters
or back there?
stating that they need to continue to fund what they promised us and continue with the backfill.
And there was information in the email that explained it all.
I've sent Ted a couple of things and I've sent Ted a couple of things, and the more letters they get, the more stock they put in it. So just, I would strongly suggest that you guys all send them a letter too, or an email or call them or something.
I have other concerns that communicate to them too.
What does our backfill total look like last couple of years?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I believe it's gonna be 2/3 this year, 1/3 next year, and then 0 after that.
Which is great for the counties that it actually did something for. It's horrible for us who, we didn't get any growth from it. And so all it's going to end up doing is raising our taxes because we don't have the growth to take care of it. Teresa Nicholson has some really great talking points if you want to call her and ask. I mean, I know you guys have been emailed a bunch of stuff about it, but I'm sure Teresa would help you draft a really great letter. She's, well, better spoken than I am.
So
So,
at our last legislative forum and across the street here at Sullivan Hall, both this city of Forest City and myself voiced their opinions to all of them that were there.
mhm.
It's going to be a huge hit if they take it away. In the same respect, I mentioned to them that the wind turbine rollbacks were not really a fair way of doing things.
Mhm.
And they want to help small schools out by allowing kids to ride buses longer so you can eliminate a bus driver in a bus. And that's going to be there's a Band-Aid on a gaping wound.
I don't even consider it a Band-Aid. I mean, what's the longest your kid rides your bus?
I've got one that's on there for 45 minutes. And at night, there's one that's on there for 50 minutes.
We have it over an hour, like most of these kids, and that's,
Well, it's against the law to be over an hour.
is it?
Yes.
Well, right at an hour then. I thought Gretchen McGinn told me that.
I suppose if there's delays or something.
There's a whole bunch of other issues that go along, especially with smaller school districts or smaller schools. And the whole system is set up to close small schools, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it has been for years.
Oh, yeah, that's been working. Yeah, and I assume that they are also gonna ride the bus for that extra half an hour and referee for these. I assume they're gonna provide that. The longer they're on the bus, the worse it is.
My good note. There was a report that came out and made Iowa the best place to live.
Yeah, that's right, I did hear that.
I can't believe we beat off Minnesota.
Yeah, I was gonna say Minnesota usually wins that.
They had a lock in that for a while. Must be all that crime in Rochester.
They just finally figured they couldn't understand them up there.
Well, we've probably driven up our ratings enough.
Yeah, YouTube should be wrestling now. So. I suppose I could tell a quick Ole and Lena joke that includes Minnesota, but I'll say it.
Thanks.
Anything else for open forum?
I'm good.
We will adjourn.
Yeah, right after I hung up on the phone with you, Dave, I got the email that had that letter on it.
Oh, it had the letter on it.
Copy,
Well, yeah.
and you can give me a copy, or make another copy for James.
Okay, so
either.
regardless.
Well,
Didn't realize the agenda was on there too, but
Or if
You know, I didn't see it, I
Listen
looked
to
at all
this
these,
stuff.
I didn't read all of them.
I'll do that.
But,
30 dash, my contract and our workman's contract.
yeah, it's,
so it should all take care of itself, right?
Yep.
Okay.
it's just amazing how we went in December, everything was fine, and in January, we were completely broke. And then somebody asked Bob the question on how could this happen in just a month? And then Bob says, well, I've been dealing with this for over a year. But he didn't tell the board.
Okay.
Or,
how come not?